Fitness Pro Mentors community, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Super excited to have you here. I love talking to you about marketing and helping you have all the tools you need to 2 to 3x your personal practice. And one of the things that I think will be super cool is if you're like me, you want to talk to people who've actually done it and actually kicked butt. And Mr. Curtis Clay, who's a good old friend with the beautiful backlighting. Curtis Clay, welcome to the show again, man. How you doing, man?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Yeah, I forgot my lighting thing, man. So I had to set that up. But no, I'm good, man. Just keeping busy and excited to do this. I always look forward to doing this and seeing your face and catching up. But yeah, things have been good. I can't complain.
I like your face, man. I can tell everybody. Sneezes. Right. Oh, you're allergic to my BS. Nice. No, I tell everybody, like there's a handful of, I know we got a lot of awesome colleagues, but when I think about people internationally that if I could do something and collaborate with more, you're at the top of the list because you're just a creative, genuine, hardworking person. You're all in and I love it and it inspires me. So
I appreciate it, man. I feel the same way to you, bro. I mean, I think it's fun to create things and build things. Especially Legos with the kids and blocks. So, but yeah, it's great to be creative. I think it's something that we all should tap into a little more, like you and the drums and that type of stuff. So I think it's a good thing for us to do.
I was just talking to one of my clients about this, and I think that no matter where you are on the spectrum of your business or whatever it is that you like to do, I think working on creative intelligence in one way or another will only help you. If you're a math person, getting better at creativity in one way will open up a bunch of doorways to think about things differently, which you and I have talked ad nauseum about. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, essentially I agree. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So I wanted to try something a little different because, I mean, you and I, we've talked about a lot of different things. And anyone who's checking this out, myself and Curtis, the Minds of a Muscle show, Glenn and I with Curtis. Curtis has been a part of the collaboration that we've done with Jacques and Michael Goulden, which is more of that coming up. Stay tuned. I'm excited for that. But I wanted to do like an open Q&A with anybody. And I was going to do it alone. But then I was like, hey, Curtis, you want to join me? And I got some great questions. But as always, because you're so awesome, I got a couple questions for you and I got a bunch of questions for you. So I'm thinking maybe you're okay with it. We'll start with our mutual questions and then we can jump into some Curtis specific stuff.
Let's do it.
So Daryl Richards, who's one of our students, said, always love knowing what other coaches and business owners are currently reading and studying. They don't have to be exercise or business related. So Curtis, what are you kind of studying, reading, and learning about right now that's getting yourself fired up and applying to whatever you like to do?
I love it. So I listen to like a book a week, not related to exercise, just because with 2 kids, I can't sit down and read. Me sitting down and reading is a premium. So I have a textbook that I read each month, and then I probably listen to a book a week, whether it's on personal development, whether it's business, whether it's I'm curious about how this person thinks and so forth. So like right now I'm listening to a book, Grant Cardone's 10X, and it's fascinating. And I think the thing that I enjoy is that he's reading the book. So I watched this show, Undercover Billionaire. This isn't a plug or anything. And I love the way the guy operated. And so I wanted to kind of get some more of how he operated. And you can obviously take somebody's approach. He's pretty aggressive, but somebody's approach and make it work for you. But I like people that are go-getters and take action. And so I can kind of feel that vibe with him. So that's a book I'm reading right now. And then a book that I'm also going through this month is Super Training. So kind of refreshing some of that stuff. I feel like it's nice because like in our industry, I still believe we're in our, toddlership or infancy to other professions. And so there's a lot of things that are being added in. Like we use a good amount of technology here with our athletes and that type of stuff. But it's always nice to go back to the basics, by Audible. Great. It's a great book. So like being able to go back to the basics is always helpful. And so we did a study session here with the guys yesterday and I talked about that. And it's hard because we almost like keep nudging forward. So that's kind of what I do. I read parenting books too. Like that's a part of the spectrum, but I also believe that the better parent I've become, the better trainer I've become too, because as a parent, still new to it, we're almost like it's improv every day. So how can I keep my emotions within check? Because they can't sometimes because they're 4 and 2. And that's something that I'm working on all the time because, I'm modeling how to handle so many situations, And so that's kind of what I read and study, and I kind of go where I go. I've been obsessed with rib mechanics for probably 4 months, and that's I guess a side project, but yeah, that's just kind of what I do.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. The parenting thing is interesting. Because I don't like talking about it with every single person, because I feel like anyone that's not a parent's like, oh, here we go again. Right. But I do think that there is something about like when you have to take care of this little tiny person that doesn't quite have the emotional intelligence to get what you're talking about, and they're feeling something. You took away their red car and they blow up. You got to figure out how to have a conversation with them and have it not turn into a war. That's a really interesting. It's definitely. How would you say it's helped you become a better trainer?
I think that every day is improv here at work. Now, I'm not saying when it comes to building my workout plans, that's not off the cuff. We build a plan of action, but you guys know, like somebody walks in the door and their whole entire physiology or body language is different. And do you pay attention to that client enough? Or like we have multiple athletes that come in at a time sometimes. Are you paying attention to what their normal is? And how they are. So like, hey, okay, can I find this opportunity to pull them aside? Like in our gym, we've got two sides kind of. And so if they go over here to do an exercise, or I might even be like, hey, you remember that one today we're doing? I want you to do this one over here instead. And then I'll have a moment to come over and be like, hey, what's up? Are you good? Because they don't want to be around the other peers or whatever it is. And so I feel like every day is to some aspect improv. Even though I build my plans, sometimes the plan that they come in with, it's not where we thought we were going, right? It'd be nice to be on a linear projection. And so I think with kids, it's been great. Like Honor, like I probably had an average of 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night this week, just because he's got his molars coming in, and he doesn't know how to handle that. And, and he's kind of like me, like we don't really get sick. And so when we do, we're babies. So like I never get sick. So, I can relate to him that way. So just like being there for him. And Jackie had a bunch of meetings this week, so I got to get up and so forth. So improv, learning, it's helped me be better for my clients. But I would say before my kids got here, me being better with clients helped me get ready for my kids. So it's kind of like a cyclical ebb and flow of those things. Everything's going to help everything to some aspect.
Oh, yeah, I would completely agree. And Mr. Brad Thorpe's here, and he's saying he's excited for this. And I'm excited for this. Thorpe, thanks for watching.
ISOs, baby.
ISO Thorpe. I got some things. I got some things I'm working on right now. I'm in I got 2 books on the go. I got Alex Hormozi's $100 million offers. So I'm super focused. I mean, we got a bunch of people in the mentorship right now, as you know, Curtis, and I'm trying to figure out everything I possibly can to make it marketing and helping people get busy as possible, as easy as possible. So I'm trying to learn as much about all these weird parts of marketing and advertising that I don't want to say came naturally, but I kind of figured out trial by fire. I can figure out how to make it happen faster. So Alex Hormozi's $100 million offer book is crazy because it's not just about fitness. It's really how do you define your offer of what it is you do and how do you price point it and make it competitive. I think it's awesome. And then Perry Marshall's 80-20 marketing. Which it's really cool, man. It's this whole idea that 8, you got to do a lot of stuff to advertise yourself. And it really comes down to 20% of your main actions is going to bring 80% of your revenue.
Feel it.
But so that's kind of really, really cool. I really am digging that. It makes, this whole idea of how much stuff there is to do a little bit more simple.
Right.
And then I got a marketing mentor myself, someone I'm learning from named Ruben Drager. And I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about how to help people get busy. I'm really loving it. I'm on the hypertrophy train too. I'm trying to learn as much about hypertrophy from the academic nerdy end. And Jacques even sprungboard this more last week when we were talking about, oxygen deprivation and internal occlusion of skeletal muscle being a component of hypertrophy. Like he blew my mind. He made everything worse. So yeah, man.
I love it. That's nice though.
Yeah.
When that stuff happens. Yeah, man. I've seen that guy Alex on Instagram a good bit. And I got a text from somebody from them. They have a podcast, something. He asked me to be on it, or one of their team members, which will be interesting. I don't know what they want to talk about, but I think getting that information from people is crucial because we all have a story. We all have things that have worked for us, but to hear different perspectives helps, So, and I think you've done a great job with the marketing aspect, but the cool thing with your marketing, which I think that we tend to kind of forget is that with your marketing, because like I know who you are, you truly want to help people. And I think that comes across in your stuff. And so with that the case, it's like there's a level of trust that's built. Like we know that, hey, bro, you want to make, Instagram posts, like, bro, you want to learn how to make 100K, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Listen, here, like it's kind of like, but the way that you're presenting it, and I know, and me knowing who you are, it's a genuine like, hey guys, let's get you guys to skip the stuff that I went through.
Yeah.
And help you get there, which I think is great.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad it's coming across because it's hard. I'm trying to follow the right rules, so to speak, to connect with people without sounding like everybody else. It's tough, man. It's really, really tough, but I'm trying. And, but I'm happy to go through all of the trials and tribulations to figure it out and be great or suck. And, I think that's the fun part.
For sure. It's definitely a journey. That's for sure.
I got another question for you.
Yes.
So this one's for both of us again. But I like this one. I haven't been asked this in a while, so this will be fun. I'm excited to hear what you say. Another student of ours, Mr. Michael Cooper, asks, what 3 pieces of equipment would each of you add to your facilities next?
That we don't currently have?
That we don't currently have.
You want to go first? Because now I'm thinking.
Okay, I got a couple. I tell you what, one that I want really bad that I won't get because it's too big for our older, more sensitive folks, is Atlantis has a new back extension bench.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's got you can adjust everything from the back where the support is on the back of your leg to how high it is to how long it is, and it's got a pulley you can attach it to a cable. I was this close to buying it, but it's 18 inches off the ground starting point for the foot. So I had my 78-year-old Maureen here today on it with scoliosis. And she's 100 pounds soaking wet. If she goes up and she's 8 feet off the ground, I'm exaggerating, but that high off the ground, I'm a little nervous for her. You guys could get it.
Yeah, it's just, it's expensive. I love the aspect. I saw Kassem post it. I might be saying his name wrong, but he posted it. So I went to REI and drilled a hole in to put a wheel through so I could do that.
Yeah.
I tested it out at home first, but I got to do that. But yeah, it's a really cool piece because another guy, I think it's
William McNeely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got
awesome, dude. Yeah, and he posted it, and I was like, yo, bro, how much is that thing? Okay, cool. Okay. I was like, but I see the usability. There's so many options and variability. So
yeah. I think that would be worth it. The second would be, I really, really, really would love one of those Prime Prodigy racks that they've got, which is a squat rack with a weight stack machine built in with a pull down in a row. We've got a 2-split facility, but our facility's not that big. And I'm a big nerdy fan of that machine. I think it would be an absolute blast. And then the other thing, and again from Kassem, who's been really influencing the exercise scene, he modified the hack squat machine that they've got with a bunch of band posts and rollers, so you can offload it or upload it and change the angle of it by Atlantis. And so for me, those 3 would be my selfish Actually, they're all pretty selfish, to be honest with you. I think those would be the next things.
Yeah, I feel that. Do you mean that Predator squat? Is that what you're talking about?
Maybe it's Predator. I think it's Predator.
It's on an arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Predator. Or sorry, that's theirs. That's a different company I'm thinking of. But yeah, love
same kind
that
of idea.
Yeah, that's one of the pieces I'd like too. Just because I'm really good at getting my posterior chain going.
Yeah,
my glutes, hamstrings. Because college, it's glutes, hamstrings. But I've really found based off of the way my ribs sit, I need to work the front side a little more. So I would love that machine, right?
Yeah.
Just because I like to be extended. And so I have to really think about when I get to in a flex position. So it's always something I like. But I'd like one of those. I still want that Cybex squat press.
Oh, right? Yeah.
I feel like we used that. We went to Ohio that one time for when we did the all of us, the instructors, the meeting.
Yeah.
No, I think we did shoulders, but I feel like we tried that. But
we messed around with it.
I love that thing. And then let's see, third one. Gosh, I don't know. I guess from the sports performance side, I'd like that Kaiser functional trainer. So
yeah,
there's this rotation piece and so forth that you can do with it. But if I can add another one that I've been talking to interview with and stuff, it's called Proteus. They want me to get it. The guy flew in, not the owner, but one of their salespeople, and talked with him. He's from this area, and I'd love to use it from a testing aspect, but also training, because it's myocentric, or sorry, it's concentric focused. So there's no eccentric load in it, and it's detecting like how your velocity, your meters per second, and like it's like you're like in water.
Oh,
so I would love to mess with that for sure. So you're not in water, but it's like, resistance. So, and there's no path of motion. So it's like all over the place. So I'd love to play with that. I mean, I'll probably get that eventually. It's just timing wise and size in the facility. Right. Yeah. So I've had limitations of size in a facility, it's a bummer.
That's what we're dealing with too, man. There's a bunch of stuff I would love to get that would be super useful for us. But I mean, we're 4,000 square feet and we're maxed out right now.
Yeah.
And I have no intentions of going too much bigger because I like the cost expense ratio right now, or income expense ratio. But yeah. I got another question for you from Mr. Cooper. It's a simple one and it's silly.
Oh yeah.
Would either of us sell him our Nautilus 2ST supine hip extension?
Yeah, I probably would at some point.
Oh, really?
I would.
Why?
Yeah. I mean, I love the piece.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But yeah, I mean, eventually I probably would, but in the near future, no. I mean, if the price is right, I'm willing to part with any piece for sure.
Fair enough.
That's just basic common business.
Yeah.
So, but I love the piece. I selfishly love it. It took me 5 to 6 years to find it. I found it here locally in Tacoma. So it would take a while,
I got mine for like $250. I was so lucky. I found it in some old storage from a gym that was closed, and it was in an iron outdoor storage bin, and they wanted to get rid of it. And it was great. I love it.
Yeah, yours is in good shape. Mine's a little weathered. It's a little work. So I had to make some refurbishing stuff, and it's good now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. They'll pop up. I mean, you just got to keep hunting. Like I waited 5-6 years and found it. And the guy was like, "You want this thing?" Because he posted other 2ST.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You got any more?" He's like, "Well, what are you looking for?" And I was like, when he responded via email that way, I was like, all right. It's like a hip extension. So you lay in your back. Probably. He's like, "Oh, you mean this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you want to sell that?" He's like, "Sure." I didn't think anybody would want this. I'm like, "Yeah, nobody wants that." No, it's I just kind of want to mess with it.
It's funny. That's one of those machines that if you know what it is, it's like super valuable to you. And then if you don't, you're like, "Well, this is garbage." Like, who wants to do their glutes upright? Like, this is crazy.
I know, dude. It is crazy because like shoes, right? Like I like shoes, and there's like StockX, so it's a stock market of shoes. I mean, the same aspect happens when it comes to equipment, right? Yeah. So it's a social score. No, I don't want to say that. A social market of like, wow, this is needed, this is wanted.
Yeah,
that value shoots up. So, or value shoots up. So. Yeah.
You know what? It's funny. So everyone knows here I play drums, and my step grandfather, my papa, he also played drums. And forever since I've known him, since I was like 10 in his basement, he had this crappy bass drum and crappy snare drum sitting on the shelf. And like when you watch a movie and there's like a rusty old drum in the back of a movie scene and no one ever touches it, it was kind of like that. Like it was just this piece of crap. It looked awful on the shelf. And you're like, well, I don't know what that's for. Right. So when he passed away, my stepdad said, "Well, here, you can have these." And I looked at the drum, and the snare drum was covered in so much thick lacquer paint that you looked at it and you're like, this is probably garbage. But because it was my papa's, I'm going to do a little research on it. So I sent a photo of it to a buddy of mine, and it looked terrible, man. I'll send a photo to you because it was so gross. Yeah. And so my buddy Jason he goes, "I think that might be really special. Send it over here." So I dropped it off at his house. He started cleaning it up. It turns out it's a 1950 snare drum from one of the original companies that is now super popular. It's worth $2,000.
Oh my gosh, dude.
And it was just one of those things that if you don't know what it is and the color of it and all that stuff, you'd never know the value. And just giving it a little love really brought it out.
I love it, man. There's so many of those things, though.
Yeah.
If I think about that aspect, that also applies to clients.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right? We think, oh, I'm old, I'm done. Yeah, no, you're not done. You're still full of a lot of value.
Yeah.
So we just got to teach you how to use that body effectively. We're going to take some of this layers of lacquer off.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that aspect applies to clients. And like, I have older clients that are like, I never thought I feel better than I did when I was this age. I'm like, I'm so proud of you. You've done a really good job. Thank you for believing in yourself and allowing me to be a part of that journey. I mean, that applies to so many things. Like, but we usually use that analogy like I did with shoes, and then a snare drum with material objects, right? But it's like, no, there's some gold in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be that leprechaun, and I'm gonna get to that pot of gold. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so
Oh,
speaking
man.
of pots of gold, if anyone knows anything about you, you've done an incredible job of building a badass business with a bunch of other side businesses. Time for that in the future. But you've really done an incredible job of, I think, taking the group athlete phenomenon and really doing an incredible job with it, between the mentorship and camaraderie that you provide to these athletes, a scientific approach to training, and really being able to make incredible connections with coaches and university people, and really giving these students a confidant locally that they can trust.
Right.
So I got a couple of questions that were specifically for you. And one is from another student of ours, and MSS student and RTS student, Mike Ruble. And he said, how do you get local coaches to trust your process on building better athletes and refer to you?
It's a great question. It's heavy. I think I said this in another episode before. It's sustained effort over time, sustained high quality effort over time.
Yep.
I hate to say this, but your product is the athlete. And if you take an athlete and they get much better in certain areas that coaches are evaluating, they're going to ask you, what have you been doing? Unless they have an ego and they think that they did it because, in a group practice, which isn't possible. So you got to do good. You got to do good work. And that's, like you said, the mental, emotional, confidant. Like, I think that's been pretty heavy. Like, you asked me, like, is there anything I want to go over? I think this ties in, but like culture and communication is crucial. And I think that I've really dove into that aspect of training the athletes and also the adults, but definitely the athletes, because like they're going through stressful situations. Recruiting looks different. The schooling system looks different, and so forth. And they're frustrated. They don't feel heard, and, I had one group of like a whole class across the nation here where it's like when COVID hit, it was like recruiting class done, because those seniors at college, they got their season taken. If you're a spring athlete, so track, baseball, softball, they get to come back. Well, then that puts stress on the coaches. They can't really recruit a recruiting class because that scholarship money is still promised to those people.
Right.
So I've had to kind of like leverage that up. But then if you build that trust and you do a good job, they're going to speak for you. Right. I'll give an example. All right. This isn't a coach. I had a girl come in, worked with her for a long time. She's a really, really good athlete. And she was getting back pain. All right. And so she was going to PT closer to her, not super far from me, but closer to her. We're a little bit of a drive, which is fine. And the PT prompted to ask, like, oh, you're just really tight. This girl's been with me since 13, right? Was feeling better, and then her mom wanted her to go to PT, which is cool. And so did that. She's like, oh, you're really tight. Like when you go to that guy, Curtis, like, do you guys stretch before? She's like, no, like we warm up. Like we have specific exercise. We do this type of stuff. Like, oh, that's why your back hurts. So what did that lady just do to somebody that I built this relationship with? She trashed me, right? Because she wanted to have a level up on me. And from that, she left the PT place because she's like, dude, I don't think you understand who this person is. Right. And I was like, you didn't need to do that. She's like, well, doesn't that make you mad? I'm like, those things happen on a regular basis because I don't have a medical license, anything. And people, they all of us do this. We want to one-up people. It's not about you. We're in a service industry. It's about helping that person. Right. So then I prompted to email what I do now in communication with PT. I like talk on the phone. They got the email. The email back was, I'm a little bit overwhelmed with this assessment in your notes. I don't know where to start communication. I don't think we need to talk on the phone because she's not coming back. I'm like, we have other people in common that like your boss has referred to me. I thought it'd be good to open up dialogue. So if you do a good job and you put your clients first, your athletes first, they're going to speak for you. And then say an athlete comes and says, hey, my coach asked, like, what have you been doing? Would you mind talking to them? Yeah, for sure. I'll make that time, right? Play the long game. Don't play the short game. You're not getting anything monetary out of that discussion for 30 minutes to an hour, but play the long game because the more you're heard about, right? as Grant Cardone would say, he's like, action, live action, get out there. You got to be seen. You got to be seen. You got to be seen. You know, if people know who you are and your reputation is good, that will start to permeate. But then making a proactive effort.
Yeah.
Right. Reaching out. So it just takes time, but don't give up. Don't let one coach diminish you because they want to use their ego to say, well, I know that too. And you'd be like, that's so good. I didn't know this until a year ago. And then they're like, wait, what? You know, so it just takes time, but you just have to believe in the value that you're providing.
So on that, like, rapport building with teams, do you find often you'll have an athlete that'll come see you, do some work with them, then you meet their coach and then you meet their team? Or will you actively go out and seek coaches to connect with?
I did that in the beginning. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
If I have somebody now that comes in, or I'm getting a bunch of girls or guys from a team, I'll reach out like, hey, what are you guys doing? What's your practice schedule like? You know, like what's the intensity of your practice? Is Monday a light day, Wednesday a tough day, Friday's a like walk through to prep for the weekend? Like, so I can match a little bit the stress levels they're going throughout the week.
Yeah.
I do that now. When I first started, like I went to my old high school and I said, hey, the football coach, like, can I do your guys' programming? So I'll do it for like, I was like, I didn't say whether I do it for free or not. In my mind, I had the mindset I was gonna do it for free. He's like, yeah, I've delivered a lot of value and I got a check in the mail. Wasn't expecting it, which is great.
Nice.
You know,
Right on.
and then that was like 2011, 10. And then that person talks because kids play multiple sports. So then it kind of started that way. And then, yeah, I mean, you can actively seek them out, but
did it for free.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
See, that's the thing. And then you said the Grant Cardone thing. You got to be seen. You got to be seen. You know, I think if you want to get as busy and recognized as fast as possible, you got to volunteer as much time as possible, get in front of as many people as possible, give back as much as possible. And like you said, you nurture those relationships and provide a ton of value. Yeah. You are absolutely going to grow. There'll be a point where you don't have to do that. But if you've got the thing that drives me nuts, I don't know if you have this, or maybe you went through this. I did this, where I had a light schedule. It was like 11 or 12 hours of clients. And I was like, hey, well, I want to be full-time. So that means if I want to work 40 hours, that means I've got 29 hours of unpaid time where I can devote my time to. Yeah. And I would call chiropractor, massage therapist, do presentations, and fill all my non-paid time with unpaid activities that was productive in front of people. I mean, otherwise you're going to sit at home and play Call of Duty or whatever. Right? Yeah. I mean, might as well get out there. And so I think that's absolutely brilliant, man. Get in front of people. Give your time to share.
I think when I started my own business, I rented from another guy. And I told Jackie, like, hey, like, if I'm not, like, I had to pay rent per day, but I had a minimum per month and stuff. And so I was like, okay, it's like, and I asked him, I was like, well, if I'm not working, if I'm just here studying or hanging out or working out, like, he's like, no. So what would I do? I would just stay in the facility. I wouldn't just show up for appointments.
Yes, I would agree.
I would stay there, right? Because you might get that random pop in. And then it's like, okay, hey, how you doing? Here's a moment. They've always cleared a bunch of the stuff we got to sift through. They drove here, got in the car, made an active action to walk in this door. They did not a cold call, but a cold researching. I don't know. You're like, hey, let's take advantage of this opportunity. So I feel like the more you are somewhere, people know you're there. I tell the guys here this too, like, because people come in, or if people see, like, if I'm working with somebody and they're not working with them, I'm like, no, that guy's there all the time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you should call him. He's great. Call this guy. You know, like, if you're there, it makes a big difference too, versus like being at home and then I come in for an hour and then I got a 2-hour break. I'm going to go home.
I'll work from home.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
No, but you're also wasting time driving.
Yes.
Just stay there and maximize that time. You could probably within 30 minutes make 3 quality phone calls. So yeah.
Completely agree. Completely agree. Yeah, Show up and keep showing up.
Keep showing up. Sustained effort over time.
Effort over time. And we're going to name this episode that. Sustained effort over time. So one of my guys here, who has the same background that you and I have, he's certified, all the fun stuff, and he's put a ton of time in. He's wanting to do some athletic stuff. And so he wrote me a bunch of questions, but I want to ask one that I think I would love to hear your take on, because I'm actually just genuinely interested. So he was curious about, we were talking about him running a group, and he said he's confused and struggling with how to customize and individualize exercises for specific athletes in a group scenario. And I'd love to hear how you handle that. If you've got 4 or 8 kids on the floor, I don't say kids, but young athletes, and one needs something, you're trying to show them a specific process. You got a plan, but you got to change this, you got to change that. How do you go about handling that?
Yeah, there's a few things you got to figure out, right? So like we do team stuff here. So I'm going to put this in a couple categories, all right? So I have small group training that I do. Max is 4 kids per hour. Okay. It's really busy right now. So like when I'm in, I'm like, it's game time. So that's like, I got to boom, boom, boom. I build up their plans, but I'm not, hey, how you feeling today? Cool. Hey, little Johnny, how you feeling today? Little Susie, how you feeling today? We're bouncing around. How'd that feel? That's really good. So that's a lot more bouncing around for me. All right. So I have the plan of action of where we're going to go, or we call it the white papers. So we build out a whole white paper so I can look from their assessment, from what's going on, what their homework has been daily. And then, okay, these are the directions we need to go. These are some of them, like it's there. I get a snapshot. I have it color coded, blah, blah, blah. And then I have each of those per hour. Now it's always scheduled skill level, right? It's not like, oh, same sport. It's skill level. So if I feel like I have a 12-year-old who comes in who I've been working with since he was 9, he's probably the skill level of a 15-year-old. I can pair him with a 15, like, you know what I'm saying? I never compromise that, because if there's a level of nomenclature or language where I say, hey, blah, 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 chin here, blah, 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 this, like real quick, they're on it. I can put those more people per hour. If I got a new kid, small group, I might go 1 to 2 kids, or maybe one a couple times, just him and I, even though it's, or her and I, just depending on what it is.
Yeah.
You can customize it, but you have to figure that out. When it comes to bigger groups, we're all doing the same thing, man. Like, it doesn't mean like we'll build out like a team thing. So we do like an introduction of how to lift depending on sport, pre-test, post-test, lift. They get a packet, all these concepts, depending on the sport. And so that's more like we're doing the same thing. You can't customize something for, in my opinion, 6 and up. Like 6 is, for me, is the cap. But pretty up, young, it's tough because you got to have stations and rotate through and build a program. So you're almost training for a physiological change, right? Like, okay, we're focusing on power today. These are the lifts we're going to do for power. Hey, little Johnny, remember when you row, you've got to think shoulder blade, then this. Hey, little Timmy, you need to think elbow, then shoulder. So those things can be personalized that way. The exercise might be the same, but the experience is different.
Lots of littles.
Yeah, so that can kind of vary, but it just depends. But the biggest thing that you have to figure out, like, so for Q does great with teams that way, but when it comes to small group, I think he prefers 1 to, or like max 2, 3. Probably his sweet spot's 2.
Yep.
I can do 4, right? Because I got thrown in the fire, like when I was at my first job. 12-year-old, 18-year-old, go. You're like, holy spectrum. So I think over time you can handle more when it's group stuff, team stuff. Excuse me. Team stuff, you can do that stuff pretty easily.
Yeah.
It's all the same workout, but you got to figure out what's the best for me. How can I still provide a good service? And then maybe 1 hour a week, you do 3 instead of 2. Like, that went okay. Why did it go okay? Well, they've been with me for a while and they understand my language and stuff like that. So that kind of varies. So you got to figure out the service you want to provide, go from there. Like, it's really hard to do. Okay, we're going to do an offload with a band on the, lying hamstring curl. And then little Johnny, you're over here doing the seated version. You're doing a myometric right, plyometric left.
Yeah.
Like it's not doable right now for our athlete academy. We can do that stuff because guess what? They have to apply to get into that.
Right.
They have to show a competency and self driver to do that. Gosh, what's the word I wanted to use there? Doesn't matter. Anyways, they have this internal driver to self-efficacy to drive forward from there. So, yeah.
So is that application process, like, do you send videos and stuff like that, or is it a series of questions around commitment?
They've had to be with us for a bit.
Okay.
And I they're probably ready for this. The goal of the academy is to get these athletes prepared for what it's going to be like in college. It's a lot more detailed than some of these colleges because they kind of do the same workouts. And what's great about that landscape is that's changing. They're individualizing a little bit more.
Yep.
I need them to get ready to step into that environment. And if they're used to that environment here in a safe place as a soft launch, but they're still getting better, now when they make that transition, it's a better situation for them. They're not playing catch up. They're not overwhelmed.
So how do you handle the group stuff? Because it's, I mean, brilliant, man. I love it. If you've got different sports or different positions that have vastly different requirements, do you have just like a tone of a workout, or do you, I mean, how do you handle that?
No. See, this is where I think the communication and culture thing comes into place.
Yeah.
There's football guys that come in together right now. They organize their group to come together. They do that. I can go one tempo, right? Tonality, how I speak to them, concepts. That's pretty easy. Yeah. But each of those guys are different. They play the same sport, but how they process things is different. Their temperament, who they are, introverted, extroverted, a combination of both, that types of stuff. But that's a game you can play with that. But say I have like I'm trying to think. Yesterday I had a football guy, 2 softball girls, 3 softball girls. That's different.
Yeah, right? No kidding.
Or I've had softball, baseball, lacrosse. So you're coaching each of them individually, even within that hour. It's almost like I'm opening up my internet browser and I have one of my tabs is, necklaces and Valentine's Day gifts for my daughter. And then there's another tab, which is like another softball player that hour, where it's Valentine's Day gifts for my wife. Different people, same theme. Then the third tab is like, we're going to look at, gym clothes for the,
yeah,
I can ebb and flow between those tabs, but there's a difference in each of them. So that's how I look at it. So I got to communicate to them different, all type of stuff too, and what their demands is. And it's all it's still individualized. I'm not focused on position. Everybody's doing we have all O linemen today, all this. No, if you're lacking in these areas, you need to work on these regardless. We need to make you the best athlete you can be that happens to play football, that happens to play baseball. And until we get those markers there, we can't actually cut you loose into the skill specific, I guess, or demand specific stuff. That takes a little time. So that's just kind of how I look at it a little bit.
I love it, man. Those are all the big questions, man. Those are all the big questions. But yeah, I got something I'm just curious about. We did a cool study group today because what I was talking about is that, in my past with different worlds of education, I've spent a lot of time personally one-on-one. There's a lot of time working on just a table with clients. And lately, I've transitioned so much more to trying to have the same methodology, the same thought process if I'm working with someone, but using I would say 99% exercise machines and exercises only with a little bit of assessment or a little bit of dynamometer or a little bit. And it's been a really cool transition because ultimately the same things are happening and we're getting really cool information, but all the clients feel like that they're 100%, like we talked about in the last group call, it's exercise. And I'm just wondering, how is that, as a closing question for you, much as kind of a can of worms, I'm just curious, how has that process evolved for you over the last little while?
I'd say I'm more that what you've been exploring. I've probably been there more so.
Yeah.
For a few years. If I feel like the machine has a limitation for this structure or the person, how they're built or whatever it is, I need to get them here on the table to check those. I want to set a certain path. I want to set this. But you can simulate everything on a machine. That's what we found, right? We found that like the table work that we're doing, not to toot our horns, but we tend to progress through certain things fast. And then we need to actually prepare them for the stresses of that in the real world. My hands and I'm a pretty strong dude, but I can't simulate enough force over time, reps, whatever it is, to simulate that out there. But these machines have that opportunity to do that. So I feel like you get a lot more done. But I think this comes back to like culture and communication a little bit, right? Well, I'm coming to this place to do what? Exercise. I'm on a table. I didn't know I was coming for a massage, right? The hard part is we're battling this scripting and marketing that has happened. We've sectioned everything off. And I think that what's great about what Greg has said, he goes, dude, this is just the floor raised up, right? Or this is exercise. It's all exercise from the viewpoint that we're using it. And so I think that the cool thing is you might have a client come in that's like, I'm here because I heard you really help with glute pain. And I have this glute pain, right? Okay, cool. Then you get another person coming in. So they probably lean a little more towards the table, and then we might need to nudge them towards that glute plane keeps coming back because you're not adequately stressing that area out or training it, stressing it appropriately to handle your daily life stresses. Yeah. Then we have, Jack Johnny coming in, and he wants to prove like, oh yeah, bro, I've done like this methodology. Like I had this weird shoulder thing. It's real weird, and so I heard you help with shoulder stuff, and like they want to get off this thing. So can I potentially in that scenario use machines as a way to, because Jack Johnny, he's in the gym nonstop. How do I use this environment to get him to slow down so when he's going to be Jack Johnny outside of here, he's doing things more appropriately? So I think each situation is different. I think that getting people to, I don't think people are moving enough. Intentionally. I think people are moving, but I don't think we're moving with intention, right? Like the definition from Exercise Pro Ed, right? I think the way, it's based around intention. If I walk to my mailbox to grab mail, my goal is to get the mail, great, versus I'm going to walk to the mailbox as quickly as possible with a good heel strike to toe strike, whatever it is. I'm downhill, uphill. I'm going to do that as effectively as possible. Like you're focusing on the process versus the end goal. And I think that if we can change the intentionality of those things, it will. And that's what I think we do. Do a lateral raise. This hurts. Well, think about doing it this way. And it's a skill acquisition. Oh, I thought a lateral raise was here. Well, based off your structure, your shoulder blades sit here. And so if we bring you around in this oblique plane, scapular plane, whatever term you want to use, and then I want you to have your feet split this way because it takes your spine and puts you here. Now that can move. I need you to do that right now, but my goal is to when you go to do normal day life, you can go here, here, here. But when we're exercising, I want you to be intentional with this setup and do it this way. So that's kind of where I'm at with that stuff. I try to get people off the table as quickly as possible.
Comes down to exercise.
Yeah, it's all exercise. But yes, getting them to, because that changes their perspective. Gosh, I'm hurt. I'm on the table. Oh, I get to get up. I'm not hurt. No. I have stuff that bugs me. And like from playing baseball for years and golf, my hip, whatever it is. So I think if people, and again, I'm not trying to plug anything, Tom's class or classes, like if you can understand the tools you're going to use to make changes on a system, it's crucial. It's crucial, dude. Like, why do you have your trap bar the way you have it? Oh, I have it because I want to raise the handles up and I want to challenge grip strength by doing the CAS or the prime. Or why? Right? So, anyways.
It's funny, that last part you just said, the more of these episodes I do, the more I think about because as I'm learning more about the business marketing stuff, I'm relearning and learning new things. And I shouldn't say relearning. I'm relearning how I learn about things because there's a lot of new world. And there's so much of my thought process of how I think about it comes back to how I learned about things from Tom and RTS. And the basic mechanics of that course, I said this to Tom once. I think that whole first part of RTS Mastery, where it's just about philosophy and rethinking things and challenging yourself, I think that alone is an entire program in itself, because that teaches you how to think and question things and grow and develop. So I love that you just said that. I couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree more.
If I could recommend a book too, Adam Grant, I'll close with this, but Adam Grant, I finished a book by him and I'm blanking. Let me go to my Audible.
Yeah. I got busted earlier.
It's called Originals. Or no, sorry. No, my wife started that one. I finished Think Again. And he was talking about if you lose the ability to rethink, you're going to lose, right? So
I'm listen to that for sure.
And he talked about BlackBerry. BlackBerry had, 92% of the market share for a while, and then they stuck their heels in this, and then they were gone, right? So I think what's cool about what you said, the more we learn, if we go back and revisit those things, it's like I'm looking at it from a different mind frame, and then I can rethink, which is crucial. So,
yeah, man. I love it. Curtis, man, I love chatting with you, man. Thank you so much for being a part of today's episodes and the questions. And
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, bro. I'm so proud of what you've been doing. And I know, I think it's awesome to see you grow, and you push me, and it encourages me to grow and get better with things. And I'm just proud of you, man. I really enjoy these conversations we can have. And I know having 2 kids and different time zones is tough for us, but I'm proud of you, bro, and just keep doing what you're doing because people need it, So
well, I gotta say the same to you, honestly. I'm proud of you and I appreciate what you're doing. Every time I watch your new video edits, I'm like, I gotta get back to more editing stuff. That's absolutely insane and it makes me feel stuff, and that's the way that it should be. So
yeah, it's great. I love it.
Awesome,
Love
man.
it,
Everyone, listen, if you don't know who Curtis is, you're insane. But if you don't, go check out Curtis Clay Training, check out all of his socials, watch his hectic videos, watch his athletes, listen to him talk. He gets you fired up. He's so genuine and raw. Curtis, dude, I love you, man. Thank you.
Love you too, bro. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening, guys.